versus the Board of Education is not a historical event for me. I was 7 years old when it was decided. I was in the 3rd grade. I was not old enough to remember the discussions around that, but a few years later, I do remember the discussions in my family about which high school my older brother was going to attend, because previous to that, there was no decision. It was one high school that was African American in the entire city of Indianapolis, and every person that was black, no matter where he lived, attended that school. We actually passed the school that we were going to attend in order to get to it. But that was okay, because that was our community. And I went to a K-8 school that was completely black, in our neighborhood, with our family and with all of our friends. There were advantages to that. The disadvantage was that by law, in some states, and by practice in practically all, schools that were predominantly black would be funded at a lower rate than schools that were white. And so the suit was not about desegregating schools, it was about equal resource. And it got expanded into desegregating schools. And so we're going to celebrate the fact that in 1954, the people that were working to improve the conditions in the United States started with, let's fund schools equity. And they passed that. The desegregation part of it happened in a very strange way. We didn't desegregate schools, we dissolved schools that were historically black. We replaced them with schools that might or might not be in our community. We replaced them with schools that might or might not culturally support our well-being. And certainly we had to pay a lot of attention to how we get from segregated schools to desegregated schools and desegregated society during that process. And so Brown versus the Board of Education was a historic decision. It made for a basis for us to begin to work to try and cause our whole society to be judged on an equitable basis. But we stopped working. And it's people my age who need to take responsibility for that, because our parents got Brown versus the Board of Education passed. And that was a monumental task. Fighting to make sure it was implemented in a way that supported the goals and objectives of the suit was my generation's responsibility. And I don't think we exactly were able to pull that off. And so now we're going to make certain that you know what's necessary in order to cause that to happen.
The Honorable John W. Buckner was a fearless champion of racial equity who blazed a multifaceted career in education and public service. For 33 years, John provided leadership as an administrator in Cherry Creek Public Schools, including principal of his beloved Overland High School for 17 years, and as the Director of Equity and Excellence until his retirement in 2008. He was a tireless, unabashed advocate for equality in public education, who had a passion for learning and who considered knowledge as a reward in and of itself. In 2012, after a stellar and iconic career in the Cherry Creek and Aurora communities, led by his dedication to equity, and Democrat to be elected as a state representative for House District 40 in the Colorado General Assembly, where he served as chairman of the House Education Committee. It is in recognition of his leadership through passion, practice, and persistence that the National Summit for Courageous Conversation Leadership Award is renamed in his honor. The first recipient of the Buckner Award could not be more appropriate. Ms. Brooke Gregory is the first African-American woman to serve as an assistant superintendent and member of the district leadership team in the Cherry Creek School District. She leads 28 team members, absolutely. She leads 28 team members in the Human Resources Department. During her 20-plus years of service in Cherry Creek, Ms. Gregory has been an English teacher and Dean of Students at the Prairie Middle School, an assistant to the principal at Falcon Creek Middle School, the Executive Director of Multicultural Services and Student Success, a high school assistant principal and principal at Cherry Creek Trail High School, and the Executive Director of High School Education. In 2011, Ms. Gregory developed a high school student leadership council for Latino student leaders in the 6 Cherry Creek high schools. The students play an active role in studying educational equity in the district, providing training to district administrators, facilitating community events, and making recommendations to improve the Latino graduation rate. This effort resulted in an increase in the Latino graduation rate and the council expanding to cultivate a partnership between Latino and African American students. Ms. Gregory is a 3rd-generation educator and the mother of 1 son, Kendall, who began his teaching career this fall at Overland High School. Ms. Gregory says that a quote which best represents her life philosophy comes from a poet, Ms. Audre Lorde. Ms. Lorde wrote, "When I dare to be powerful, to use my strength in the service of my vision, then it becomes less and less important whether I am afraid." The superintendent, other executive directors have so many wonderful things to say about Brooke. Brooke first started bringing students to Summit and has just been a colleague, an amazing friend, advisor. This is one of the most extraordinary people, educators, friends I've ever met. I'm so honored, and Janet Buckner is also honored. She writes, "John would have loved the award to find its way to Brooke." I welcome to the stage Brooke Gregory.
Thank you. I hope you'll bear with me. This is very personal to me, in that I'm still grieving the loss of John Buckner from my life. John was one of 2 really incredible mentors in my life, and unfortunately, I lost both of them this year. And so to my sneaky colleagues who did not let me know this was coming, that's probably a good thing, because I could only think, as I knew that award was going to be offered, that I was all prepared to resist whoever got it. That doesn't make me right. That's just my truth. And in part because John made people feel as though the relationship you had with him was the most important relationship that he had. And his stance that mentorship was really a moral imperative was something that he did so naturally that you almost forgot that what he was really doing was giving you the honor of passing that responsibility on. And let me, before I say more about John, let me acknowledge my sneaky colleagues. Will the people here from Cherry Creek Schools please stand up? I work with really incredible people, and they will pay for this. But I am honored to be your colleague. And I also, in the spirit of the village, want to acknowledge those people that are here from Denver Public Schools. So I don't know if there are any in the room, but to my Denver friends, I am a product of Denver Public Schools, and so I have not forgotten where I came from. And I think it's important in acknowledging John to recognize that those of us who knew him well knew that as a high school principal, he would come up behind high school students in the hallway, and he had this grip. It was a claw almost that he had, and he would grab this part of your elbow that you don't know you have until he grabs it. And I don't know how to describe the feeling, but it causes you to look over your shoulder at who has grabbed you. The problem would be that he would be standing on this side of you and grab this elbow, and so you'd always look and no one was there, but John was really the person grabbing you. And sometimes that was redirection, sometimes that was getting your attention, sometimes that was reminding you of something that he thought was important. But for me at this point, and again, in still going through that grieving process and that process of acknowledging our village, I want to say I'm so thankful for so many Black men who have stood in my life and who have made such a critical difference in my ability to know who I am. And so today I very humbly accept this, not because anything I've done is necessarily worthy, but because your opportunity to be worthy is always ahead of you. And so today I know that John Buckner has this elbow, and that I may look over my shoulder and not see him, but I know he's still there.
Very briefly, on behalf of the Cherry Creek Public School District, we want to let Brooke know how much we love her, we care about her, and we appreciate her. She lifts so many of us up, and if it were not for her, so many of us that you see in the crowd, and hundreds more that aren't here, would not be in the position that we are. So we appreciate you. You're relentless, you're fearless, you continue to fight, and for that, we stand behind you and we support you. So thank you so much, Brooke.
John is the second in our village, just in our summit time, that we've had to report from here, no longer